Hi team, a little bit different today. We're going to have an interview with Mod, who's reached out to ask me to do a mock interview for him. We'll talk through things like how I interview personally, what I look for, what things other companies might look for, and what questions he should ask to the company. Because not all about, hey, the company asking you, it's about what do you want from the company as well. So let's jump in. All right, mate. Okay, so today what we're going to do is we're going to just do a mock interview. So we'll
Yeah.
start through. So I do things a little bit differently usually. I don't actually do tests unless it's really required at the end, and usually that's a take home if anything. But what I'm more interested in is actually figuring out like who you are as a person, because in the end of the day, that's going to matter the most to me in my teams, right? So I, another, like, just to give you a little bit of background, all the people that I hired in my team that when we started our business have all been junior, and I've grown them up from junior all the way to senior and tech leads. So I really actually value hiring juniors because I think they can add a lot of value, and they come along for the ride without having too many built habits or opinions and stuff like that sometimes. That can happen as people get, if you've been coding for 10 years, you have quite a set way of doing things. And when you're working in a startup, you develop a certain way of doing things. And we like to, teach that to the juniors and go from there. It also gives other people an opportunity to actually teach people, which is when you teach, you actually learn yourself a lot faster as well. Okay?
Yes.
So to get started, the first question that I'll always ask is, I say, can you just give me a brief run through of your history? So what you've been doing and how you got here.
Okay. So, starting about myself,
Yep.
I'm a student in India right now in an institute called Srinidhi Institutes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing my major in like engineering,
Mm-hmm.
and I wouldn't say I'm not really passionate about in electricals, but I am relatively more passionate about web development. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing web development since I was in my high school,
Mm-hmm.
and after entering engineering, I have completed learning new frameworks. I've started exploring new things. I've learned new technologies, and I've participated in a few hackathons.
Mm-hmm.
And from there on out, I would say I've been a full stack web developer.
Yep.
And then in my sophomore year, I started working at a seed level startup. It's called Web Launch India.
Mm-hmm.
What the company does is it provides clients with cheap websites
Yep.
for to use it as their portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say for like non-profit organizations which are still upcoming, like NGOs and stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah, so WebLaunch provides websites for those such organizations to receive donations and maybe do their own publicity and stuff like that.
Okay, cool. And are you just working there as like an intern or something?
Yeah, it's just an intern right now,
Okay.
and I just completed in May.
Yep. Okay, cool. And you've been looking for a full-time. So have you finished your studies? Are they all complete?
Nah, I'm currently in my junior year. I'll be going like in my final year in a couple of months.
Okay. All right. So how many more years of actual study do you have left?
I'll be graduating in 2024 June, I guess,
Okay. All right.
probably.
So you just practicing interviewing and stuff now for then? Because obviously it would be hard to have a full-time job as well as studying.
Yeah, of course, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
I'm like practicing interviewing right now,
Yep.
and I was looking for internships and opportunities as such.
You're a very smart man. I really, that's very clever of you to
Thank
do
you.
all that. Yeah, before you get going, because you'll have a lot of experience before you get into the field. All right, I'm just going to just flip this. All right, cool. So I've got another question here for you. Is what got you into software engineering? Why did you start doing it?
Software engineering.
Yeah.
Uh, to be honest, I was when I was in high school. There was this one article which I read,
Mm-hmm.
which was on Linux, okay,
Yep.
and it was about Linus Torvald, how he got made the most popular open source software of all time.
Yep.
So, and that's where I started experimenting a little bit about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started experimenting, I found that I really enjoy this kind of stuff, and that's where I entered the field of software development.
Okay.
Uh, Regarding web development, I had a mentor. His name was Tane Pratap. He's not really a one-to-one mentor. He's more of a public person.
Mm-hmm.
But after following him and after listening to how he enjoys web development, I thought this might be a good chance. And when I gave it a try, it just clicked with me.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that leads us on to the next question: is what do you like about coding or writing software?
Oh, about writing software, when I write a few lines of software, like I feel like there was this one hackathon. Let's just take this one example.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there was this one hackathon which I participated. It was more of a possibly national wide hackathon. So they have given us a problem statement to solve a authentication system. And when I wrote that software, the judges who will be coming from national levels,
Mm-hmm.
they were really impressed by it. And the moment when they were impressed by it, and the possibility that this code would be like it was more of an auth zero replacement. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Yep.
OAuth replacement. And the moment I realized that this code may be like used in a larger scale, like a really large scale, I was really impressed by the thought that something I have written would be used publicly, and maybe people wouldn't know my name, maybe people wouldn't know that I wrote it,
Mm-hmm.
but when I see them using it, there will be a sense of satisfaction for myself.
Awesome. That's really cool. Excellent. The next question that I'll ask is, what do you actively do to learn, and how do you best learn?
How do I best learn?
Yeah.
Uh, I there are I just seek out for new technologies. If there is a new framework which is coming up,
Mm-hmm.
I just look it up, and then if there is a new JavaScript runtime, if there is anything as such, then I just dive into new technologies. It's not just limited to web development; it can be anything.
Yep.
If it is cyber security, if there is a new tool which has launched up on Linux, so I just go take a look at it. If it's anything, if there's a new exploit, or if there's something similar, and then I believe that the curiosity and probably the will to go explore things is something which keeps me going.
Yep. No, definitely. I mean, it's an industry that's constantly changing.
Yeah,
So there's
it's an industry that's content.
a lot of things to learn all the time. So would you say that you learn by, how do you see what is new? How do you find those things?
I just go read the doc. Most of the time, it's I explore things through YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
and once I've seen a brief tutorial, I just go explore the docs. The docs are usually pretty clear. For example, the first time I explored Tailwind CSS, it was like magic to me. Like I was writing the dumb CSS before, and then I saw this video on YouTube from Fireship, I
Yeah.
guess. You see Fireship?
Yeah, 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 definitely. Yeah.
Okay, so I saw Fireship's video on Tailwind, and then I could never go back to writing normal CSS. It's just setting up Tailwind as default, I guess.
Yeah, nice. Okay, cool. So you find it on YouTube, then you'll go and you'll try and
Mm,
write a project or something with it and then experiment. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yep. Awesome. Okay. The next thing is, what are you looking for in your next role? So what would you be looking for in your role if you were to get a role?
I'm just as you know, I'm a self-taught developer
Mm-hmm.
mostly. So I'm looking for a role which would grow me,
Mm-hmm.
if you understand that.
Mm-hmm.
I might be lacking the complete knowledge of a person who is like actually doing computer engineering,
Mm-hmm.
but I want to be good enough to compete with him and probably learn in the next role as much as I can.
Yep. Okay. So
That's
it's
the first thing.
something you can learn. So basically, just looking for growth
Hmm.
in a new role
Yeah,
and
I'm
being
looking
able
for
to be
growth.
taught and learn the team. Because yeah, obviously working in a team is different to, being a solo engineer with things like
Yeah.
code reviews, and then just working with problems with other people. Learning conventions of a company, and the projects are generally are much larger than what a project for a solo dev
Exactly.
would be. Um,
Exactly.
so yes, cool, no worries. All right, so the next question is, what are your goals and ambitions in the next 5 years?
In the next five
Yeah,
years.
it's a long time. Maybe try let's say the next 2 years? Because we know in the next 1 year you're going to be finishing your
Yeah.
university or course, and then
In the next 2 years, I would like to be a really good web developer. Maybe I want to give a React talk and contribute to the React open source library.
awesome.
That's my primary goal for the next 2 years. Like
Working.
I want to just contribute to Next.js because it has helped me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm thinking about career wise, I want to be a software developer, a junior software developer who is on his track to senior right now
Mm-hmm.
at the company I'm working.
Yep.
So that's the goal I can see for the next 2 years.
And then
Regarding next 5 years,
yep.
I think I'm a transition from web development to cybersecurity,
Okay.
or maybe within the same field to become a more senior person.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't thought about the next five
Okay.
years.
So either cybersecurity or just continue and just growing into a
Yeah,
lead.
just growing into it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. Tell me about your interest in cybersecurity. I'm interested in this. Tell me why you're so interested in cybersecurity.
In cybersecurity, I think I was just passionate about cybersecurity because it's the thing which got me to software development.
Okay.
And once I was in cybersecurity, I think like the exploits are really just too good. It forces me to think out of the box and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's the reason I'm more in this.
and hacking, making sure you don't
No,
get
not
hacked.
really hacking, but not really hacking, but just
Making sure you don't get hacked is probably
something like that.
it. All right. What's most important to you about a workplace?
About a workplace, the previous internship I worked was completely remote, and it was more of a one. It was a C-level startup, so I was directly working with the CTO of the company.
Mm-hmm.
He was guiding me to complete a project and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
In my I enjoyed the previous workplace to be honest, but in my if I was going for a new position, I would really like to have a in office kind of an environment,
Mm-hmm.
and probably a mentor who is similar to him, who will lead me, who will guide me and make up for my like knowledge. That's the new environment I'm looking for
Yeah,
at the
awesome.
moment.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I do get the remote work is hard. It is hard with when you
Yeah.
working, especially when you're learning in a new.
Since I'm just learning, remote work is kind of difficult for me.
Yeah, we've noticed that over the time, like, because yeah, we used to be full in office, and then we moved like during COVID, we moved to full remote, but now like we're kind of a hybrid. So we'll go in Monday, Friday, just so you can connect with your peers, you can answer questions and solve problems. And then the rest of the week, everyone works from home. So we found that the hybrid quite nice, and it's funny because we don't have to force people to come in; they just actually want to. All right, so. Okay, so this question is more for people who are not juniors or have had a role, but it would normally be, why did you leave your last role? Obviously, you didn't have a last role. It was the contract or the internship finished, so that's all good. We'll skip that one. And then you've answered this one already, which is, what is your preferred working arrangement? So you've said you like in office if possible, and would that be hybrid, sometimes at home, sometimes in office, or full
Nah,
time?
I just would like to go office because it just seems like it gives me more opportunity to grow.
Yeah, yeah, cool. Yeah, great. All right. Then another question that I would ask is, when you're truly honest with yourself, what holds you back the most?
What
What
can
holds
you
you back the most? Yeah.
can you rephrase that? Like I don't
Okay. So
exactly get it.
if you're being honest with yourself. So
Mhm.
firstly, what prevents you from achieving your goals as fast as you'd like to?
Oh, okay. What holds you back the most?
Mm.
Uh, I think I do a bit of I do a lot of tinkering around. Like I don't I don't stick to the usual. This is the best technology stack right now,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't don't stick to that usually. I just do a lot of tinkering around. Like if I have heard about something, and if I'm working on a side project right now, and if I have heard about a new technology, then I don't go with the technologies I know or which I know for a fact are the best technologies. I just do a lot of tinkering around it. It really holds back me on my efficiency and on my time because I have to go through the docs for that particular thing and stuff like that. If you get me,
Yeah, 100%. Totally get you, especially in this environment. So
yeah.
I'll add to that. I think when you're learning something, I think that's a really it's fine. I think it's okay to be practicing with a lot of different things. Every time you start a new project, try and push yourself to learn something new, like at least one new thing. I do think that it's very key to start a side project and finish it. So always ship is the thing. So never get like, start something, work on it for 20%, it's almost 20% done, then stop, then start something else, 20%. Because you never actually learn the framework that you're actually trying. You never hit the real big problems. You kind of, you hit the to-do app and who cares? Like every technology piece can write a to-do app. So I think it's important when you're starting to find what you like or love, because there are going to be things that you love and click with you. For me, that was Rails. Really just, I fell in love with Rails when I first used it. I was like, this is amazing. And React was the same. We started using React when it was in version 0 point something. So when it just came out, and I was just like, this is amazing. Because I used to write back, I started web development when I was 15 years old. So that was like 22 years or 21 years ago. And I was writing in tables because that was what we had. We wrote with, you'd make websites with tables. Then CSS came along and got better. And we used to like write pure HTML in like Notepad. There wasn't like, I didn't have a code editor. Dreamweaver was a thing. So that's where I started from. But when we came to React, I was like, what is this? This is magic. So yeah, for me, so you will find, and you have to experiment to do. I also came from PHP. So I used to know a lot of PHP, but then when I found Rails and I found how it all worked, it blew my mind. So I think it's very important in the beginning, early stages, because you can kind of find what you'd like and then niche down into it. So once you've kind of, evaluated it, you need to evaluate tools and find what clicks with you. And then once you get it, you then go hard and specialize. Keeping in mind that you do need to keep adapting, but you just need to know those kind of all the languages are foundationally the same, right? You got if else, you got loops. As long as you kind of learn those things. Primeagen does a really good video on how to learn a new piece of technology.
Sorry, can you repeat the name?
The Primeagen. Have you heard of the Primeagen? Surely you've seen him on YouTube.
No.
I'll send you a link to him. Amazing. He works with Netflix.
Yeah, sure.
Netflix. He writes in Rust. He loves Rust. Very funny guy. But yeah, he's very intelligent, and he has like a little walkthrough that he does when he wants to learn a new piece of tech. And it's very smart. All right, then those are all the questions that I have. But then the next questions that I would offer up the stage is, what questions do you have for us? So in an interview, it's very important before you come and start the interview is for you to go out and actually research the company. There's nothing worse than going to an interview and knowing nothing. For me, that's a red flag. That means you don't even care, right? So in an interview, as an interviewer, I'm going to ask you, what do you know, or what questions do you have about my company that you're trying to hire for? And they'll give you the stage. So I'm going to say, I'm going to ask you firstly, what questions do you have for us?
I've not really gone through have gone through the homepage of your website, but I would say have gone through you more as an individual. I've seen your GitHub, and firstly, I would like to ask you. You have a lot of startups right now.
Mm-hmm.
Are they all your startups, or are they your personal projects?
So it's mostly personal projects. So I actually work. So the main company that I started. So I'll give you a history of the company that I started and exited. So about 9 years ago, I started a business with my two brothers. It's a real estate marketing business called Real Hub.
Yeah.
So that's our main business. So that's a real estate marketing platform. So we built an artwork builder, and it controls real estate in Australia is quite a different beast to the rest of the world. It's all vendor paid advertising. So we deal with artworks and things like that, and then we send those orders directly to providers. So people who are printing companies or signboard companies or website portals like realestate.com.au and Domain. These are big websites where you can search for real estate. So and we handle quoting and budgeting. So we built this platform. So over the last 9 years, we've been building. 2 years ago, we merged with our biggest competitor, and we created one company called Real Base. That's where you'll see Real Base from. And then about 3 years ago, we merged. And then 1 year ago, we sold our company to domain.com.au. So it's the second biggest portal in Australia. So we built from startup. We worked out of a garage. We did the full story that you've always seen everyone talk about. We literally worked out of a carport, which is like just a piece of roof outside. That's where we started. and we would live and breathe the work and work 24/7 on our startup, writing a news platform. And we just slowly grew. We never got funding, so it was all self-funded. But yeah, a lot of lessons along the way. But yeah, that's how we came. So it's all real estate based. So I'm still in this company today. I work with Domain, so we've recently just all transitioned. So they are now, I'm now employed by Domain. And yeah, so we are now rebuilding. We're pulling out the front end from our monolith Rails application into a standalone front. We run about 4 big apps that serve different purposes. One's a digital proposal tool. One's an internet marketing tool that like pushes ads to Facebook and Google. And then we've got a billing platform as well, which we've built. Because as you get bigger, like we have multiple platforms and things that all need to feed into one. So we've built like a rolled and auth system. And the scale gets bigger, right? So you're dealing with a lot more volume. So that's that company. Then the other projects you'll see, like this is obviously my personal website, which is not really a side project. We're working on an app called My 4x4, which is just yep. So that's what we're doing at the moment.
I've seen that.
Yeah. So we're busy.
I've seen that.
Busy live coding that one, building it out on YouTube, because what we missed from the first startup was we never documented anything, right? So we can't go back and go, oh, look at that, look what happened then. So what we're trying to do now is show other people how you can build a real application that is in the wild. And go. So yeah, that for me is one of the main ones that I'm working on. I do have a lot of other ones in the pipeline because I just love to build. Like the thing to know about me, and this is why I don't look for tests. I don't go and test people, because I've been in your position before where people just tested me. They wanted me to do certain weird and wonderful algorithm tests. That's not where most people are going to flourish, right? You can learn algorithms but be not a good dev. What you need to be good at is being a problem solver. So this is why I have these conversations. If I can see someone really loves software, that's what I'm looking for, because that's what I am. That's what I do. I absolutely love software, and that's why you'll see me writing all these things. For me, the most important thing is not the end goal.
I have a question too.
Yeah, go.
I have a question actually.
Yeah.
You told that you are more of a Rails person.
Yep.
But when I gone through your projects, be it your personal portfolio or anything similar, everything was written in Next.js.
Yep.
So I assume that Railbase is also a Next.js based startup.
Nope.
But if you are a Rails person, then why would you go through the hassle of learning Next.js and then writing all your personal projects in Next.js, especially your portfolio? Because my portfolio is written in plain HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and it's not really impressive. But yeah, that's my question.
Yeah, your question.
Why would you go through the hassle?
Wonderful question. Because I love learning. That's why. So I've built a very large Rails app, very large. It's very, very big. When we started our React project, it was with Create React app. So this is going back, there was no Next.js when we started. Okay. So that's what our front ends are. They're just standalone single page, not server rendered, because it's a business to business. We don't really care about SEO and stuff like that. So we don't really care about server rendering. But the reason why I wrote the side projects in Next.js is because it's a good framework to start a React project, and because you get server rendering. So all my new projects, I need SEO, right? So I need Google to be able to find me. I need to be able to do open graph images. So that's why I always choose Next.js to start any React. I'll write all my front end stuff in React, and I've just evaluated it over time. If I were to do our front ends again, I would move to Next, but we're too big now. Like we have so much code. Like you wouldn't get no benefit in our
migration is a really difficult.
It takes forever. Like we're just writing this, it'll be a year project with like 5 devs, and you don't actually get any benefit for the customer. The customer doesn't really see any benefit, so you have to weigh up the pros and the cons. But yeah, so for me, that's why I write a lot of Next, because I'm learning it. I want to learn about serverless and find the pros and cons, because I believe there are a lot of cons in serverless. I don't think it is the golden goose that everyone or a lot of people think it is. We run all our stuff in like Kubernetes, and it's constantly, and I find that experience actually a lot better. Yes, it's harder to get set up, but once it's running, it's way faster. Like the response times, like with serverless, you get the cold starts, which 3 seconds, 4 seconds it takes for your app to boot, sometimes depending if you're using Prisma, which is a problem. But Prisma is really cool. So, I'm experimenting with the new tools in a side project because that's where I can learn new technology. So when you join a big business, what ends up happening is you only use the tech that is in that business, because businesses don't tend to change tech all the time because it's too expensive, right? So for me, by writing side projects and other things, it gives me a way to learn something and keep fresh and modern. So like I've written things in Objective-C before when I wrote apps like natively, React Native, like I'll experiment with everything. Um, but I will say, when I build an app that I want to be like really, really scale to big, I will use Rails. So I do have an app that I'm starting next year, which will be a Rails-based API with the next front end. And it'll also have a React native front end as well. So I've also got another app, which I don't think I've open sourced yet, but it's that's written on Redwood.js. So I don't know if you've heard about that.
I have no.
Yeah, it's very cool. It uses GraphQL as the base. It uses Prisma. Also good. But I just experiment. So I always like to try, like I said to you, when you start a side project, add something in that's different. So just so that you can I like Chakra
Ego.
UI, but I also use
Yeah.
Tailwind. Like I've just experimented with Tailwind as well. So just keep yourself open, but build a full project with that tool so you can know the little nuances, because every tool's got little pros and cons. Like there's no one tool that's perfect. So hopefully that answers your question of why you can't see any Rails
That does.
apps.
That
Yeah.
does.
You will
That
see
does. That
some
does.
gems and stuff that I've written, but most of the code that I write in Rails, because I write it the whole week, you kind of go like, I want to do something different. Do you know what I mean? By the time it comes to your spare time, you're like, oh, well, I've written Rails all day, every day.
Yeah.
Let's write something else. Yep. Any other questions about the
That,
company or what we do? Or for me?
not really for the. I don't have any more questions right now,
Yep.
but I like really appreciate you.
Okay, no worries, mate. Another question, I'll tell you some questions you can ask. So what you can do
Sure.
is what you should do is ask the company, um, like, why, also you want to know is like, what benefits are there if I work for your company? Because remember, when you work for a business, it's a two-way relationship. So you also need to find out what is it there that is good. Like, if you're working for a startup, like, are they funded? Are they going to be around in 2 years' time, or are you going to have to be looking for a new job? If they're a big business, you've got to ask for like, what's the career progression in this business? Because we could hire you as a junior, and then for 4 years you're going to be a junior. Um, what does it look like in a normal day? What do you do in a normal day? So describe to me what a normal day looks like. So these are the kind of questions that, as an interviewee, I guess that's the word, but you would be asking the company,
Yeah.
right? Because you want to also know that where you go and choose to work is going to be a good place, because you're going to commit a lot of time and effort here. Because ideally, the place you choose, this is just my personal opinion, is somewhere where you want to stay for at least 1 to 2 years. So you can provide some value and learn. Because if you're just jumping every year, for me personally, as a business owner, that doesn't look good, because I'm just watching someone just jump. I'm like, well, I'm going to train you for 6 months. You're going to give me maybe a couple of months worth of value, then you're going to leave.
No need.
Do you know what I mean? So it's these kind of things. So when you make a decision, try and make a decision. And I know that's a controversial thing to say, because most people are like, no, just keep moving, keep learning. And it's like, yeah, that's cool. But you also, like most of my guys that work with me have been there for 4 or 5 years, because we provide an environment where you can keep growing, keep learning. But then also, you as long as, I guess that's the thing. If you keep learning and keep growing, why would you leave? You don't need to. It's fun. We try and keep the environment fun, fresh. So those are the things. All right, now another thing that we're finished with the interview, but what I want to talk about quickly with you is just some other little things that I would work on as well, just to give yourself the best
Sure.
chance. So when I'm looking at your GitHub profile, I noticed when I clicked some links that they were dead.
I like forgot to renew the domains. I
Okay.
I just give you the new ones right now.
Okay. So that's the first thing, because I took the time to go through it. Some people may not.
Thanks.
But
They don't. They don't.
yeah, so I went through the links like dev to your articles. I couldn't see your
I don't
portfolio.
usually write dev too. I like wrote a few blogs on Medium. but not really
Okay,
different.
so then maybe just update your README on your GitHub profile,
Sure, sure. Will do that.
just so that it's all up to date and current, right? So did you chat me a link? No, not yet. Just flick.
Sorry?
Do you have your new profile or your new portfolio?
Yeah, sure. Here you. It's like uh,
Oh, Netlify, cool.
I just started
Oh,
building
sick.
it a while ago,
Nice.
so a few functionality may not be working here and there, and I need to update my projects as well.
That's very cool. All right, sick. Um, Sweet. Yeah, this is great. So yeah, just update your GitHub profile so that all of this works. This is very cool. So you hand coded this in HTML and CSS.
Yeah, of
Yep.
course. HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, all
Awesome.
of it.
And so is it just like native JavaScript?
The end is JavaScript doesn't. I didn't have much need for JavaScript except for the scroll functionality and probably the form. That's all.
Okay, so you just drop that in. And do you have this link to your this project on your repos in your repos?
Yeah, of course. All of them are on repos right now, and I still have to add a few projects over there which are relatively bigger than that.
Yep. Okay, that's very cool. Like this is the stuff that I look for. So the first thing when someone reaches out to me, I'll jump onto LinkedIn, I'll check out their profile, I'll jump into GitHub. Like I personally don't look at CVs. I'm not interested. Anyone can write anything on a CV. Like worked here for 2 years, like that's cool. Some people care about that, but I care more. I can see that in LinkedIn. I can see where you've worked. But I'm going to come in here and I'm going to see how much do you actually care about software? Do you actually write software in your spare time? Because this is where you can see it. Like I can instantly see, oh, look at this guy actually writes. He goes through and writes code. Because I can actually jump in here and I can see how does he write code? What kind of code does he write? So this is very important for me when I'm hiring. Like I'll look at this and I'll generally make a decision by the end of the interview if I'm going to take this person to the next level or not. Right? And this is why I don't care so much about like, let's go through, and that usually comes in later stages and it depends on the company, how they work. But that could be a red flag too. If a company hires like that, it could be like, maybe they just don't know how to hire. So they force people through. Like maybe the Googles and the Facebooks of the world need you to understand those kind of algorithmic things if you're working for like an AI company and it's all about the maths. But when you're a software engineer or a web developer, we need to see like how you write code. Like how do you write web code? Is it maintainable? Does it work well? So very good start. Just tidy it up,
Yeah, of
and
course.
it'll put you off to like a really good start. So you're on your way, mate. Um, are you contributing to any open source repos?
Currently, uh, I was contributing to Discord music bot with a friend of mine, and if you are talking about the contribution about to something which is huge right now, I was working on this bug for Brave browser, but I couldn't really figure
Yep.
it out. Do you use Brave browser?
No,
It's
I
a
don't. I
browser.
use
It's a web
Chrome.
browser.
I'm one of those guys.
Okay, Brave is a
I know,
web browser,
yep, on the Chromium
and
engine. Yeah.
so it has this bug, and there was this good first issue on GitHub, and I was looking to solve that bug. For now, that's all, and
Yep.
maybe work, working on some school websites or
Yeah, it doesn't even have
might.
to be big, right? You don't have to go and try and find a massive project because those projects are going to be really hard to get into. It can just be smaller projects as well. There's like a lot of smaller projects or like libraries or something that you've pull in, right? Like if you're pulling in Tailwind or something and you find a bug there, or it may not even be Tailwind. Tailwind's pretty big too. But like there's a whole bunch of libraries where if you stumble into a bug with the library, especially the libraries that are still new, like in the zeros and stuff, you'll find them. People like Redwood.js always have lots of little bugs that are easy to fix and contribute. So if you could create all those contributions and people can see, like, look, he's contributing here to a big thing, like those are just massive pluses. That's like a really good plus to get into a job. It's like, oh, look, this person actually knows what they're doing. Because there's nothing worse than a junior coming and there's nothing on their GitHub profile. It's like, what have you been doing this whole time? You know? Especially because you're not working. Because once you get to work and you're working full time, it's going to be harder to get code into your private repos because you're working full time. Then you have less time to do it. So, good time now to get in the habit. And then also just building things. By you building little apps and tools, you're really setting yourself apart from the rest, is basically what I'm talking about. Cool. What else is there? Is there anything else that you wanted to ask, or
Uh,
while you have me?
so how is your day?
How was my day? My day's...
How does your day? How does your day go as a software
Yeah,
engineer?
there we go, mate. Good on you. My day. So what does my day look like? So the first thing in the morning is we do a stand-up at 8:45 with the team. Just a quick, about 10-minute stand-up. And it's really just to find, and what I find the good thing about having a stand-up is just everyone gets to, you kind of get to think about what you're going to do today. That's what it's putting. It's just putting in that mind frame. It's like, what am I actually doing? Because when you get to work, you're like, oh yeah, kind of have to get your brain into track. So we do a stand-up, 10 minutes. And then usually, so because I was CTO of the company, but I'm not a traditional CTO. I always wrote code. So I wasn't just focused on meetings and stuff like that. I'm very much a guy on the tools. I want to know the code. I want to understand. So for me, I'm always writing code. So I would have, like, let's take, for example, for Friday. So what was I doing on Friday? On Friday, I said what I was going to do. I'm working through we're pulling out the front end of the monolith into a separate rip. So I'm rewriting a lot of code and adding new features to it, migrating it all to TypeScript. But then during my day, I would be asked questions or problems that other people were having, and then help them with those things. So we just work on, so you're working with a team, and they'll bring you the problems or ask for suggestions on how to solve a certain thing, or how do we want to architect something, right? So because I've been working on an app for so long, I understand and know how most of it works off the top of my head. So if someone says, how do you want this thing to integrate, or how do you want this thing to work, I can jump in and help. So that's where I spend a lot of my time, and that's my day. And yeah, it's basically a lot of, probably 50-60% of my time is helping other people, and 30% of my time is, 30 to 40% of my time is just writing code. So learning all those things, and I generally take the things that are I guess, mission critical. So things that deal with money, and artworks and stuff like that we can't really afford to have problems. So I spend a lot of time on those kind of things. And I generally will build the framework of something and then hand it off to the team to continue. So I'll build, like, basically the architecture, right? The foundations. That's what I do in my day job. And then in my spare time, I will work and find, like you, same thing. I sit on YouTube a lot and just look at what's new. It's very fatiguing. I also get emails and stuff, and just trying to find, like, is there anything in here that could be useful in our projects? And that's why I also like to learn on the side, because what you end up doing is you find a pattern or something cool, and then you bring it into your big project. There's been heaps of times where I've solved a problem in a side project, and then had the same problem at work. So with React 18, one of the things is the double render. So you'll see
The
when
double render user
the double render,
double render
yeah. So I used a similar tool in my side project, figured out how to fix that problem in a side project, and then we had the same
How did
project.
you fix that?
Yeah, it was.
I just removed the strict mode completely. That works for me. But how did you fix that?
No, well, it depends on what you're doing. So every problem's going to have a different solution. This one I ended up using I believe I used a ref instead, and that didn't change. It's off the top of my head, but anyway, I solved that problem. Then I brought that problem and fixed it at work. So it's very good. That's why I encourage all my team to write side projects. I'm like, please write side projects. Please learn new things, because it is valuable for the company and yourself, because you're going to get better and better and better. And then also you get better as an employee, which means you can progress up the ladder faster, right? Because you know how things work. And by looking at open source code, you can see how the best people write and structure code, right? Because there's people out there that are really intelligent and do really cool things. And if you look at how they write and how they think, it's very important and it's very good. So yeah, that's my day and that's my spare time.
I have one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
You told that SEO doesn't matter to TLBs, right?
Yep.
Is it like a case forever, or are you guys looking to improve your SEO anytime soon?
No, so okay, so the what I mean in that instance is, because any app that's behind a username password, the code or the views behind that are not, relevant to SEO because Google can't even get there, right?
Mm.
So obviously the public facing website, like your website that you look at,
Yeah.
realhub.com.au, that does matter.
Yeah.
That SEO does matter there. So what you would usually do there is you could just statically render a website, right? You can build it with like Gatsby or what's the new one that everyone's Astro that everyone's you use that. You render pure HTML super fast, all the SEO. That's great. That's what you want SEO for. But then if you have an app like, so for us is you log in as a user. If you don't have a user and password, like Google cannot crawl it. So why do you bother? You don't need to bother. What you will need to care about is perhaps you want to do open graph. You know, when someone pastes a link for certain things, that can be a problem. So we've come up with ways of solving that. But for a company like us, business to business, which is what we are, business to business, you don't really need it. For an app like my 4x4, we need Google to crawl it. So we need to have SEO. And we need to have all those open graph images. So that's why I opt for Next. Right? So it depends on the course that you're going to take and what you need. Do you need server-side rendering or not? So when you're building something, you've got to kind of figure out what is it that I'm building. Like if you're building an app, right, like an iPhone app, do you need SEO? No. Unless you're going to render those, there's some going to be another website. But if it's just pure app, you don't need SEO. So you don't actually have to worry about server-side rendering. You could just serve an API. So you have to evaluate your tool based on what you're trying to achieve in the end of the day.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So yeah, that's all from my side.
That's all. Awesome, mate. Well, mate, based on that interview, I would definitely take you to the next round if you're in Australia. Unfortunately, I only hire people in this company in Australia because obviously for the working together piece. But mate, definitely,
Sure.
I'd definitely take you to the next. I love what you're doing. I love how you're learning. If you have any questions for me in the future, I'm just one message away and happy to help you.
Sure.
And keen to see where you end
Thanks
up,
a
buddy.
lot.
Have a great day.
Have a great day to you too.
See you,
See ya.
buddy. Bye.